All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. And before we get to our next guest, Stephen Moore, I just want to welcome Dish Network viewers that would normally be seeing our friends at Fox Business Network on this channel. And although we don't know the future of Fox on Dish Network, Newsmax TV is available on Dish on channel 223 24/7. So that means you're watching us now on the channel that would normally be Fox Business. We welcome that. Please stay with us. If Fox comes back, you could always go to 223. We're always there 24/7. So thanks for tuning in and welcome aboard. And welcome aboard to Stephen Moore, Chief Economist for the Heritage Foundation, former Senior Economics Writer for the Wall Street Journal. Hello, Stephen. Happy New Year.
Hi, Steve. Happy New Year to you, too.
Well, it's not really a Happy New Year. You wrote a great piece at the Washington Times about the coming pension meltdown, and you point to public employee pensions. One in California, for instance, a fire chief in Southern California collecting almost $1 million pension last year. A police captain in L.A. almost $750,000. I mean, these numbers are outrageous, but they can't stand, could they?
Well, they've stood, and now some of these are lump sum payments, one-time payments, but still $1 million is a lot of money to pay out in pensions. And by the way, they have a scandal that goes on, a kind of scam in California where you can retire with this lump sum, $500,000, $1 million payment, and then you can go back to work. So they call it retire and rehire, and then they rehire the people for the same job. So they're essentially collecting two paychecks at once. And this is something that, by the way, Steve, is bankrupting a lot of California cities. The unfunded liabilities in California alone are in excess of $1 trillion. That's the amount of money that has to be paid out in these pensions versus the amount of money that's being contributed to the plan. So a lot of them are going bankrupt. A lot of cities in California may go bankrupt if this isn't turned around.
All right, well, turn it around. How do we turn it around? I mean, in my state of New Jersey, ever since Christie, and I'm no fan of Christie, but ever since Christie got in, he said we can't afford to keep doing this because of the billions in deficit regarding pensions. And, of course, that's why one of the reasons teachers and other public employees in the state don't dislike him so much. But how do you turn it around? Are these people not entitled to what they're owed? And even if you stop it, still, how do you ever pay all the monies you owe?
That's a great question. First of all, what kind of initiated this column that I wrote was what's happening in Scranton, Pennsylvania right now, which is a middle-class working town in the middle of Pennsylvania that they've had to virtually double their property taxes, raise fees, and other kinds of taxes to pay, not for police and fire service and schools and roads and bridges, but just to pay for the excessive cost of these pensions. And what we find nationwide, by the way, Steve, is that the average public employee pension benefit is almost double what a private sector worker gets. So that's something that simply isn't affordable any longer. Now, the answer to your question about what do you do about it is these states and cities have to start moving to what we call defined contribution plans, where what's defined is what you contribute to the plan. It's more like a 401k plan like most people in the private sector get. If you don't do that, you're going to have these time bombs in these city budgets that by the way, the other alternative here, if they don't fix these things, is basically for cities to go bankrupt and basically just wipe out these contracts. And that's what happens when you have bankruptcy, is you wipe the slate clean.
Yeah, and I think you pointed out in your piece that Utah is one of the states that are headed in the right direction with those 401k type offerings.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And what we have we have to find more states that duplicate the Utah model, because Utah actually has one of the lowest liabilities now of all the states and cities. They do it right, and people who run cities and people who run state pension plans should pay close attention to what Utah did 2 years ago.
When I heard the president poo-poo the Keystone Pipeline in his year-end press conference, I immediately thought of you.
Amazing, isn't it? I mean, this is a no-brainer. It's a project that 75% of Americans support. It's basically about American infrastructure. It's about jobs. It's about American national security and energy security. I mean, Steve, I can't even comprehend the arguments against this. By the way, it's even good for the environment, because it's much better to transport oil and gas via pipelines than than to do it on tankers or to do it on trucks or do it on rail. So it's good for the environment,
Well,
it's good for the economy, and it's good for oil, and the president's against it.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me because that seems to be the way he judges things. If it's good for us, if it will help us, he's against it. Hey, Stephen, have a very wonderful, happy, healthy New Year, and thanks for all you do for us. We'll speak to you soon.
You too. I'll talk to you in 2015. Take care.
All right, sounds good. Stephen Moore, ladies and gentlemen. And we're coming back with the president of the Galen Institute, Grace Marie Turner. You want more bad news? How about doctor shortages? Next.